Okay, Sharon, are you coming? Yeah.
It is my privilege to nominate Lydia Collins from Ms. Hatzma's homeroom. Lydia is a mature, gracious, and optimistic young lady. She has a zero tolerance policy for bullying, and I have seen her on numerous occasions respectfully but firmly shut down negative conversations and stand up for her peers. Lydia is an avid reader who loves to discuss books and share recommendations with her classmates. Lydia brings out the best in those around her and is a natural leader.
Oh, great job.
Anytime you want to start.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lydia, could you introduce your dad?
My dad.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you for
Good job.
waiting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going into non-public, so everybody has to.
You need to.
You have to make a motion.
You need to have somebody make.
Yeah, we will. I'm just letting them go. Somebody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to go into non-public.
For
91A3, is it B?
two. It's F. No, it's D.
A second.
All in favor? Call back
Aye.
aye.
Olivia, Mason, aye.
Macedo, aye.
Brown eye.
Did you want me here or delete too?
And she doesn't need to go.
No, you don't
Yeah,
have to.
you don't
Okay.
We do. You guys have to go though.
Can you state the reason why we're going into non-public, please?
Legal consultation.
Where is it? Legal. Consideration of negotiation of pending legal claims or litigation.
Okay, thank you.
Order for the second time. And we're going to move 10C up to number 1 here.
So, Ms. Mosier has asked the report card committee to present our work to you that we've been working on all year for the standards-based report cards, which we would like to start next year. So just to begin, just what is a standard? It's a statement that identifies what students should know and be able to do. Learning standards for each content area, subject, and grade span are identified in the New Hampshire curriculum frameworks, and they can be viewed online. Why standards-based report cards? To measure individual student progress in alignment with the New Hampshire curriculum frameworks and grade level standards, and to provide parents or guardians more detailed information regarding progress their child is making towards specific end-of-the-year grade level standards. The traditional report card, the students would receive 1 grade per subject. A child might receive a letter grade of a C for reading, but it doesn't specifically identify why. Traditional way of reporting is the A, B, C, D, or F. It doesn't distinguish exactly where the student's strengths and weaknesses are. A traditional report card letter grades inform parents of how well their child performed compared to the teacher's expectations and classmates, but not to this necessarily to the standard. So for parents or guardians, what does this mean? They'll be able to better identify the specific areas of strengths and weaknesses in each content area. Student progress towards each assessed standard on the report card will be clearly defined, and the information will be helpful in communicating with the teacher on how to continue their child's development and progress within the grade level standards. What does this mean for our teachers? Teachers will be collecting and analyzing student work habits and skills in a more detailed fashion. Various assessments will be used to identify where each student is in relation to the standard. And teacher observations and student work samples will also be considered when assessing student progress. The standards-based report card design, we use performance level descriptors for content areas. And the content areas would be the English language arts, mathematics, science, social studies, and our integrated arts. It will include a rating scale for student responsibilities and effort, quarterly reporting, time frame, teacher comments, where they're placed for the following grade level, and their attendance would also be on there. So these are our achievement level descriptors. The students would receive a 4 if they can consistently exceed the performance standard. The student grasps, applies, generalizes, and extends key concepts, processes, and skills consistently and independently. They would get a 3 if they consistently meet the standard, and the student with limited errors grasps key concepts, processes, skills for the grade level and understands and applies them effectively. A 2 would be the student is progressing towards meeting the performance standard, the student is beginning to grasp key concepts, all of that again. And then a 1 would be that they haven't met the standard, and if there was an NA on the report card, it would be not yet assessed. And then we are calling the effort and all of those other things that as teachers we need to report out on, but don't reflect the standards, student professionalism and responsibility. So those are separated from each content area as they address students' social behaviors within the school setting. They're using the same descriptors, the 4, 3, 2, 1, but they're just reported out on. So I blew this up from the report card so that you could see this portion of the report card. So these are our some of them, they go on to the next page. So every teacher would be assessing these skills in addition to the content area standards. And there would be a column for each, quarter to report out on those. And then these are the last 4 under citizenship, so those are kind of self-explanatory. Are there any questions so far?
Did you connect with Rochester and with Spalding on, I know they've been doing.
They've started, we're actually a little bit ahead of them.
Okay.
So Erica, and I cannot pronounce her last name to save my life. I have forwarded her
Okay,
our stuff, and I was just down at Spalding yesterday meeting with the algebra teachers and the 8th grade teachers there.
okay, all right.
So I have some communication with them just because of the math component, so I've been sharing with their curriculum what we've been doing.
And their principal and the 2 that came
Right,
to
I
us
knew
for
they
that.
came.
And I can't remember what the lady's name was. She came up.
It was
too.
Erica.
Erica.
She's
and
the.
we all met with them too.
No.
I just wanted to ask,
Can't.
are any of the
No.
students taught these skills, or are they just expected to understand or maybe teach themselves these skills?
Can you ask that after she gets done?
Sure.
So what's next? The next step is to design and implement the technology-based report card and train faculty on how to implement student grades. That would be implementing it into PowerSchool and getting that format done. And planning parent information sessions based and an informational pamphlet on standards-based grading, because we want the parents to understand this as we go through the process of transitioning from a traditional report card to a standards-based. We would also have grade level discussions. We'll continue throughout the year to assess and identify any concerns, questions that they may have. So as we go through this next year, we would continue to evaluate that process. And teachers will continue to identify and create common assessments so that everybody in the same grade level is getting the same assessments. So they're being assessed in the same way on that standard. And that's all I have for that presentation.
It's part of what the report card committee had to do this year, and it was a pretty long process and a lot of hours. They met as a committee to discuss the standards and what we were looking at, and then they took that information back to each of their grade levels. There's a member from every grade level on this committee, so that all grade levels are participating. they went back and in all of their grade level meetings, they had to go through all of the curriculum and get the standards that they wanted to assess and then how they would assess them. Report back to the report card committee, then they reported as a group. And then we met one day or 2 days that we all worked as a group and went from kindergarten to 8th grade.
I think we did K4 one day.
Yeah.
And then we
the
did 5-8 and then.
And walk through, well, what are the standards for kindergarten? How does first grade build on the kindergarten? How does second grade
So it's a
build on the
progression.
first? And go all the way through. And looked for the common threads, like for social studies. Are we going from point A to point Z? And are we covering all the competencies?
Right.
And then they took all of that material and looked against the Common Core. And most of the math lines up with the Common Core, the science lines up with the Common Core. The other two, we're still working with the New Hampshire standards because those haven't come out in the Common Core totally, have they? Yeah.
Yeah, we've got the language arts.
The
Yeah.
language arts.
Language
I think
arts and
we
math are, the
compared
science
them.
and social studies are.
Okay, so I have it the opposite. So we compared it all to the Common Core to try to get those in, but keeping, aware that they still have to take the kneecap exams. And those are based off of, some of the things that I've already been teaching the kids, so to change all of it would kind of not work real well.
So basically, every grade's report card would be different,
Different.
based on whatever this,
The subject is and the standards underneath those subjects.
So we were able to give you 2 samples that we had completed. We gave you a 3rd grade sample and a 7th grade sample.
I saw the 7 on one, but I didn't know what the grade was for the other one. It's third?
It was, yeah, it's 3rd. Yeah.
They have all the competencies for all of the grades. What I did was ask Laura and Noelle to actually put them in the format that we would like the report cards printed out into so you could see them. They actually have them. It would be a matter of populating, the other grade levels into the same format.
How many pages are the report cards?
I think
3
it's
to
3.
4.
Well, there's 3 here, but I'm sure the font's going to be bigger than this.
Yeah, we're trying to work on the formatting of
Right.
maximizing the whole page. It's in Excel right now, so once we can get it into Power School, then
It'll be 3 pages, though?
I would say it's going to be between 3 and
3 and
4
4,
once
yeah.
we can increase the font and make maximum use of the space. But Noelle and I worked on that for an entire day, and just to get those 2 grade levels
Right.
in the format with all the shading and, the text and all that. It's just a lot of work to get it in there, so we
Right.
were only able to populate 2.
And realize too that this is like a work in progress. And especially the first 2 to 3 years that you implement this, the teachers will go back and say, okay, this is how far we got in this competency, and in meeting with other grade levels, trying to mirror it back up to make sure that everything is covered, and then anytime that you would get new curriculum, new textbooks, to make sure that lines up with the competencies that you have now. Have they come out, when the Common Core comes out, have they adjusted any of those standards? Do we need to adjust our report card? So it's a little more fluid than a standard report card would be, where you say language arts,
Right.
an A, B, C, or D. You're actually going to look at the competencies you have underneath and make sure, and you'll constantly be working on those.
But you may not have to change, like, for K through 3, you may, at 4th grade level, you might have to change
Yeah.
your report card.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Right now, the Common Core, the assessment is Smarter Balance is what
yeah.
New Hampshire's going to go with. And that assessment hasn't been developed yet. So they're just in the beginning stages, so
Right.
that will happen in 3 years, 2.5,
Yeah,
2.5 years. So it will be
how could
A
they
spring
decide what
assessment.
to go with without looking at it? How could they make a decision on what?
They had to do a consortium, and so I can't tell you all the other states that are in the consortium with Smarter Balance. There are, I think, 15.
There were 2 options, right? It was like
Yes.
Smarter Balance or
Or-
another one. You had to pick.
Yeah.
And my work with Spalding, we've been talking about that transition with the 8th grade students, because next year's 8th grade will never take a kneecap test. So we have to.
That's right.
We have to transition a little more quickly than the other grades, so,
Right. And kindergarten and first should really be starting on the Common Core, because they'll be the first set
Right.
to take the assessment.
so I think we've worked that into our report cards. We've been
Yeah,
looking at
okay.
the Common Core that's published, so those are reflected in the report card. And then if a grade level is one that's kind of in that limbo between Common Core and kneecap, they may have added some things that are in the kneecap or the New England frameworks that aren't in the Common Core. So they've maybe supplemented because they need to make sure they cover additional things until they transition completely to
I think
Common.
Jen has something to add.
Well, I just, as kindergarten, we were already doing standards-based report cards, and we had adjusted ours to go with the Common Core standards, but we were already doing the standards-based as well, and it worked really well for us. We've been doing it for 2 years, and it really helped us to get a good picture on the way our kids are working as well, so.
Are you all the committee, the report card committee?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Want to introduce them?
Sure. Jen Levitt
Jen Levitt.
for kindergarten, go around.
April Lambert, Jackie Eldridge, first grade. Penny Petro, second grade.
Sharon Lonnie, 7th grade.
Noel Taylor, third grade.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Liz?
For a teacher, making out a report card for a student, one of these, is going to require 10 times more time, 40 times more time than putting down an A or a B or a C. How are you building those days into the teacher's contract schedule?
I've been doing standards-based in 8th grade, so I can speak to how I have been addressing the standards in my room and then translating them to the work that I have to do, and then I guess Jen could speak to how she's doing now. In 8th grade, when I give an assessment, I identify which standards it assesses, and then I put it into my program in the Power Teacher, so then it populates a grade for me to give. So it's just a matter of talking a different language with the computer. It's going to be more work for us because we have to identify very specifically which standard we're addressing and make sure we collect enough data to support the grade that we're giving a child. But it gives me more information about what my kids do know and what they need work on by drilling down to the standard and not just math as an overall arching. So
Plus, one assignment that you give a student can actually hit several different standards.
Sure, but you've got to be
So-
watching them, you've got to be
Right.
alert to them and keep a record of them, rather
Yeah.
than just one small note, not even a note, just a mental glance. Whereas this requires, to me, a good
It's a
deal
lot
of thought.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
But you could even have, like, I have clipboards in my room, and it will have like a class list on the side, and at the top it will say 5 of the standards, and one day I can go around and say, you know, we're counting to 100, which is just one of the standards of kindergarten, and as they're doing it, I can check off who got it that day, who didn't get it, you know, check they got it, X they didn't, and then the next time that we do it again, maybe 2 days later, do the same thing, and it could either be a quick check mark, and then I can see, looking back at that, all right, this kid could, every single time I asked him to count to 100, he could do it. There are 6 check marks there for this month. But then, you know, this one has 2, 3 X's, but now they have 3 check marks. So by the time the week was over, by the time that session was over, they were able to do it. Or this one was only able to do it some of the time. So you just kind of have to keep an eye on it and make sure that you're organized. And, you know, as we had said, kind of create assessments as a grade level to make sure that we're constantly checking in on them. But it gives us a greater picture of how they're doing throughout and really helps us to push them further.
Is this format familiar to all the teachers in this school?
It's familiar right now to the report card committee, and each committee member has been working with their grade level to create the format. So we didn't just make it ourselves, we were getting feedback from all of them. I've shared that report card format with all of the committee, and they have then shared it with their grade level.
What is the response that you've been getting from the other teachers as far as, obviously it's going to be a lot more work for the teachers, you know, doing the assessment. Kindergarten, you know, you have your clipboard, but what about 3rd and 4th grade, or, you know, and getting the higher grade levels where it's a little more in-depth? How are you with that, you know, as far as time? I mean, it does look it's going to be great, but it's very time-consuming. What's the response from the other teachers as far as the time they'll have to invest, or the training that they'll have to put into it? Have you had any feedback?
both other first grade teachers loved it. It is going to be more work, but in the long run, it's going to give parents and
Oh,
us a
absolutely.
really good picture. I think it's going to take a lot of our time, of course.
Right.
But I got positive feedback from my team.
So you find everyone's pretty much on board?
Yeah.
And in the higher grade levels?
We talked about it as a team, Laura and myself, with the other teachers, and, you know, it's all what is best for the students,
Right.
and, you know, this is what's best for them, and it gives them a good picture to help them become more self-motivated.
Yeah.
Because if you say to them, okay, well, do you want this not yet, or do you want to try to get up into that 3? They have more self-motivation to want to do better, so, yeah, I think it's great for everybody.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's wonderful because you do get a better picture, and rather than just getting an A or B or C, that definitely shows your strengths. It shows a lot of work.
Any other questions from board members?
How does it transfer, and are we still going to have honor roll and high honors, and how is somebody judged on that? How do you- that we won't do that anymore?
This is kind of moving to the same direction that all high schools in New Hampshire are
Spalding.
competency-based.
Right.
And it's basically these are the competencies.
Well, Spalding just issued an honor roll, because they gave us the list of our students.
I don't know how they would do
Yeah,
it,
we'll have
yeah.
to maybe talk with them and
Yeah.
see what
Yeah.
they're looking at. The other thing that I just want to bring up as a challenge is that there's a Power School users group that's been trying to work together to develop the formatting. It's not just a simple little thing. It's a little complicated, so I don't want you to think that it's instant and very easy to go into Power School. There is a group in New Hampshire that's been working on it, so it's very advanced work. The one thing that I would guess that teachers would say is you must know the Common Core standards and the standards better than you have before if you've been going through and saying, yes, we're using this, and no, we're not using that. So I really have to compliment them on all of that work because it's advanced work. I mean, a lot of people haven't even opened the Common Core yet, and they're delving in and picking through and going through all of it. So I do want to compliment you.
And you
on
see
that.
a huge difference in their lesson plans from the beginning of the year till now, because they're now putting more of the Common Core and the standards in their lesson plans than they were before, because they're using that as a direction now, knowing that they're having to do this. So.
Did you have something, Jim? No. Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, it looks great. Thank you so much.
Ralph, did you have something you wanted to ask?
I had already asked it, actually. I was just curious whether or not these skills that you're going to rate or assess the children with, do you teach the skills initially, like courtesy and citizenship and stuff? I mean, I saw a bunch of different things that some kids may enter the school without prior knowledge of those items. So will the teachers take the time and say, hey, this is a basic skill that you all should enhance or work on as you go through the grades, and does that happen?
Well, starting in kindergarten, we don't actually assess a lot of the academics in the first quarter. We basically work on just those social skills and really focus on that. I mean, we talk about counting. There's maybe 5 or 6 of the actual core standards that we focus on in the beginning of the year, but the main thing is those social skills and really helping them to do that, because we don't want to, obviously have them come in and be like, you should know how to sit down right away because they're 5. So that's a big part of our starting the year, and I think in every grade going up from there, they spend the first month of school going over classroom rules. They write rules together. They go over the pause system and really focus on that, so that throughout the school we have the same atmosphere of expectations.
And it'll be consistent as you go through the rest of the grades.
Right, I think by the time we get up to 8th grade, taking the mystery out of grading is an excellent thing for especially those middle school kids. So if they know they're assessed on that and it's going to be reported out on, just knowing and being familiar with, simply by projecting that one slide, it makes them more aware, and then if there is an area that needs to be addressed, we can address it as a middle school team. We can take a little bit different approach than in kindergarten because they've been in school longer. So, but those are things that we model and reteach the kids if necessary.
Does anybody else have any questions? Well, we thank you. I know this is a year-long process, and it's ongoing, and thank you for your hard work. I know you met a lot more than most committees did, a lot more days. I knew that from the very beginning, that your committees weren't just going to be once a month. And I thank you very much. Thank you for coming tonight also.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Do we have a PTA rep? No PTA rep. All right, minutes of the last meeting. Got anything, Liz?
Oh, just small items.
Okay.
Page 1. 13th line up from the bottom, just a apostrophe after services. That's nothing really. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 7th line up from the bottom, Mr. Farrell repeated that the food services staff does not clean.
Right.
Oh, food service here. Isn't it F-A-R-O? Is his name Farrell?
I'm not sure how to spell his last name. I think it is F-A-R-O-W.
Nope.
I didn't bring his card, but I brought.
I've never seen it.
It probably doesn't have it in that. I don't have anything with his name on it. Okay, he'll be Mr. Farrell. Guess we don't know. Anything else?
Page 3. This is just my own question. If a contract is not going to be renewed, isn't notice must be delivered by 4:15?
I'm sorry, I better look at page 3.
Yeah, it's good.
The last, it should be 15, yeah.
Yes.
That's two
The end of the,
places.
next to the last paragraph.
The 2 spots there should be.
Yes, that here.
Rather than April 1st, it's
Yeah,
April
page
15.
15.
On page 2, could anyone fill in that blank?
Various field trips and 500 been collected for.
What was the $500 collected for, Trish?
What's that? I'm sorry. I was reading.
Page 2,
Page 2.
the blank. Filling in.
I don't remember that.
Let's end it after field trips then.
Yeah.
Cross out the rest.
Sorry, I interrupted
Oh,
us.
that's right. Thank you. Page 4 again is just my own question because I'm not clear. Under number 3, bids going out for the next shingle section of the roof. Is that, we have on the roof shingles? I thought it was some kind of a bladder or liquid plastic or something.
That's for the flat part.
Yeah.
It's shingles on the
It
rest
is
of
shingle,
it.
yeah.
That's correct then.
It's membrane, they call it, for the
Yeah.
flat part.
Membrane 5, page 5. Second paragraph. UTCH.
Yeah, I think
It's
it's
O-O-C-H-W-O-R-L-D. It's Uchworld.
Oh, I can go back. I can remember that, what that was. So I had to go back to our report from last month. It was the thing with Deb Wilson. The pennies for
Patient.
patients.
Oh, pennies, oh,
Yes.
all right.
thing, if I kind of didn't ring a bell in my head, but the kids had earned, it was the pennies for patience.
Pennies for patience.
So, sorry.
Patients as in sick people, patients as in I am
Sick people.
patient.
Sick people, patience.